everybody, welcome back to High Country Cooking with Chewy. I'm Chewy. Anyway, today what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the process of making what they call a scoby. A scoby is used for making a kombucha tea, which is a fermented tea. It's full of antioxidants, enzymes, probiotics, all the stuff that's really good for your digestive system. So let's take a look at it and see what we got. Alright, this is everything we're going to need. Going to need one bottle of some store-bought kombucha. You want to get the plain, original, unflavored kombucha. You're going to need a rather large mason jar. Got 2 bags of black tea, 2 teaspoons of just regular white sugar, and 1 cup of hot water to brew the tea in, and a wooden spoon to stir everything up. So let's get to making this. Alright, to get this started, we're going to take our sugar, going to put it right up in the hot water, just going to stir it up till it gets dissolved, so there's no little granules left, which is just boiling water, so it shouldn't take too long. It's boiling distilled water. Looks like all the sugar's dissolved. And what we're going to do is just put the 2 tea bags in the hot water, and we're going to let those steep for the next 4 to 5 minutes. After they're done steeping, we'll pull them out. Alright, my tea's been sitting here for about 5 minutes now, so all I'm going to do is fish out my tea bags, give them a quick squish. You don't want to be touching this stuff too much with your hands because you're trying to keep it somewhat of a sterile environment, I guess you could say. And my tea bags. Now all we're going to do is let this tea sit and come down to room temperature. Once it gets down to room temperature, we'll bring you back for the next step. Alright, we got our tea here. It's down to room temperature. Real simple to get this going. You're going to take your bottle of kombucha, pour the whole thing right in the jar. Then you're going to take your tea and put it in there with the kombucha. Now the tea, all it is food for the kombucha. It's going to feed off of the sugar and the caffeine that's in the sugar. I'm going to take a piece of muslin. You can use a coffee filter or a really clean t-shirt. Put it over the top. Kind of pull it tight. Put the lid on. And this is just so it can breathe and keeps the dust and any contaminants out of this. Now I'm going to take this jar, I'm going to go stick it in my closet for about the next 4 to 6 weeks, and we'll check on it weekly to see the progress. Alright, it's been in the closet for 1 week now, and as you can see there's a nice film growing on the top. That is actually the scoby. I'm going to put it back in the closet and we'll check on it again in another week. Well, it's been about a little more than 2 weeks, or almost a little more than 2 weeks since the last update on this, and as you can tell it's getting substantially thicker. About another week this thing will be ready to go to brew up a nice batch of kombucha. Alright, scoby's been going for about 6 weeks now. As you can tell, it's gotten nice and thick. It's about a ½ inch thick. What I'm going to start doing now is I'm going to get ready to actually brew a batch of kombucha. I've got 4 cups of boiling water here. Right now all I'm going to do is throw in 6 tea bags into the boiling water, and I'm going to get the glass vessel I'm going to use. It's a big 2-gallon jug. And I'm going to brew about 1.5 gallons worth of kombucha with this jug. First thing I got to do to it though is rinse it out, wash it out a little bit with some distilled vinegar to make sure the environment's right for the scoby. And when I get that done, we'll bring it back. Alright, my tea's been steeping for about 20 minutes now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out all the tea bags. Just try to keep my fingers out of them. Kind of give them a little squish to get all the extra tea. Basically what I did was make a really highly concentrated tea. And to this tea concentrate, I'm going to add a full cup of sugar. And once this dissolves and comes down to room temperature, it's going to go inside the 2-gallon jug. So when that's all ready, we'll bring you back. Alright, my tea concentrate's down to temperature now. Inside the glass jar here, I dumped 1 gallon of purified water. So all I'm going to do is take my tea, mix it in with the water. I'm going to take my scoby, see if I can pull them out. The liquid that's in here with the scoby, I'm just going to run it through a sieve to catch any bigger pieces that might be in the bottom. Then I'm going to take the scoby, pull them out, if I can get a hold of them. They're nice and thick. Just drop them in with the tea. It's going to sink to the bottom at first. It's no real big deal. He will end up floating to the top. He's just trying to find his place. And the reason you want to take the liquid that's in the jar with the scoby and put it in with the tea is to get the fermentation started. So, alright, last thing we got to do, take a nice clean piece of cotton muslin cloth, secure it down with a rubber band, kind of stretch it out just a little bit. This allows it to breathe. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this thing, we're going to stick it in the closet for the next 7 to 10 days. This is just for the first ferment. So we'll check it periodically over the next couple days just to see how it's doing. And when it's ready, we'll take you back. Alright, my kombucha's been in the closet now for 2 weeks, and it's definitely ready. The way you want to check to make sure it's ready, just pull the top off, get yourself a straw. You go in between the scoby that's formed on the top and the glass jar, put your finger on it, pull a little bit out, give it a taste test. Shouldn't be very sweet, should still have a nice vinegary flavor to it. And this batch is definitely ready. So even got a little bit of a carbonation to it. What I'm going to want to do is I got to get the baby scoby off the top. So I'll gently get him over into a corner. I can get a hold of him. Put it in a jar. Then we got to find the mother scoby, which is the big one we grew in the mason jar the first time. Put that in the jar. Then we're going to take about 1.5 cups, almost 2 cups of the kombucha out. So we've got to keep the baby and the mother scoby hydrated. We're going to cap it. Then we're just going to go throw it in the fridge so it puts it into hibernation. Alright, now with my finished kombucha, now that I got the baby and mother scoby out, it's time to start filling up the bottles. So just take yourself a funnel, put it in the top of the first bottle you're going to fill. You also want to put a strainer up on there just to catch any of the large chunks of any kind of scoby that still might be in the kombucha in the brew. Now I'm only going to fill these bottles most of the way up till about where it starts to bend back up into the neck, because I'm going to be adding some squeezed fruit juice along with a little bit of ginger juice into each bottle. So right now I'm going to finish filling up the rest of these bottles, and when I get them all filled up I'll bring it back. Alright, out of 1.5 gallons of kombucha, I've got my bottles all filled up. I ended up getting 9 bottles out of it. And what I'm going to do with these bottles now, as you can see, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but my fluid level is about right here. I'm going to be adding in 2 tablespoons of some fresh squeezed juice. I used 2 apples, 2 kiwis, and about a 6-inch piece of ginger. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stir up my juice a little bit. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of juice to each bottle. And what's going to happen now is with the second ferment that I'm going to be doing on these, it's going to be eating the fruits, the sugar from the fruit. And what's going to sit on the counter now, once I get these filled up and capped up, we'll bring you right back. Alright, I got my 2 tablespoons of juice into each one of the bottles. Now what I'm going to do is I took about a little bit of the kombucha out of the first brew, and I'm going to fill up each bottle till I got about a 1/2 inch of head space on each one. Once I fill them up, put the caps on these bottles and crank them down nice and tight, and then you give them one twist over to get all the juice and everything mixed in. And you're going to set these on your counter for about the next 3 days, and every day you're going to have to loosen up these caps just to burp it so it doesn't build up too much pressure, because that's where all your carbonation is going to come from. So I'm going to get these all topped off and capped. When I get that done, I'll bring it back. Alright, got my bottles all capped up, and with each one, when I filled them up and capped them, turn them upside down a couple times just to mix all the juice in through the kombucha. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set these up on my counter for the next 3 days, and every day I'm going to crack the jar open just to burp the excess carbonation out, because these things will carbonate. So we'll check back on these again tomorrow. Okay, it's been 24 hours since I bottle'd these things. Just going to pick one and burp them. You should hear a slight little psst out of each one. Going to do that to the rest of these bottles and set them back. Let them sit for another 24, and then we'll burp them again. Okay, time for the day 2 burping. Oh yeah. I'll burp the rest of these and check it back tomorrow. Alright, day 3 burping. Yeah, those got some good carbonation going to them. If you look, yep, there it goes. You can see the carbonation in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to burp the rest of these, and then in the fridge they go till they're cooled. Then I'll filter them out, give them a taste test. Alright, my kombucha here's been in the fridge for a couple hours. It's nice and chilled. What I got here is a funnel that I stuck a piece of cheesecloth in. So when I pour this through, I'm going to use the cheesecloth to capture any of the fruit chunks and fruit pulp that are in there. So let's give this a shot and see how it is. Oh, that's got a nice little fizz to it. Smells really gingery. Yeah, it's got a nice fizz to it. The color's good. So let's give this a shot and see how it is. Oh, that's sweet. You really taste the carbonation from it, but that's a good batch of kombucha. Definitely give this stuff a shot. It's acquired taste, but it's good. It's good for you. Hey, and remember, hit that like button, share it, don't forget to subscribe, and never trust a skinny cook.